My son was in the back seat of a car. My brother-in-law was driving, and a drunk driver came around a curve, a 25-mile-an-hour curve, going about 70 miles an hour, and he hit them head on. My brother-in-law and nephew died 3 hours later, and my son died 6 weeks after the accident, and we buried him on his 5th birthday.
Well, a lot of times I drink too much, and I drive when I really shouldn't be driving. And a couple times I wake up in the morning, I can't remember where I parked my car, and sometimes, a couple of times, more than 3, maybe 4 times, it's taken me half the day to remember where I parked my car.
Millions of people drive home from parties and bars every night. We drink, and then we drive, and we rarely give it a second thought. It's just part of the way we live in America, but it's a part for which we pay a price. Drinking drivers cause more than 25,000 deaths every year. That's more than are killed by all other forms of violent crime. In just 2 years, drunk drivers killed more Americans than died in 10 years of war in Vietnam. For people under 25, drunk driving accidents are the major cause of death. But our way of life goes on as usual.
People are going to drink and people are going to drive, and if you've gotten to a bar, there's only one way to leave, and that's by your car. I don't think there's anything that can get done about it. There's no way that you can help it.
We are a nation that likes to drink. Americans average 2 gallons of liquor and 23 gallons of beer per person every year. That totals over 400 million gallons of liquor and 5 billion gallons of beer. We celebrate, we socialize, we live with alcohol. Cars, too, are part of our life. We have 144 million motor vehicles, almost 1 for every person over 18. In most of our cities, public transportation doesn't amount to much, so we drive. And on weekend nights, as many as 1 driver in 10 is drunk. American drivers are a high-risk population. More than half of us, 1 out of every 2 people, whether drinking or not, will be involved in an alcohol-related crash once in our life. The odds are against us. Donald McNamara, professor of criminology at John Jay College in New York City.
To deter any kind of criminality, including that of driving while intoxicated, the public must perceive not only that there is a penalty for violating the law, but that there is a reasonably good chance of getting caught, arrested, and charged. In DWI, in the United States at the present time, the public perception is that you can drive while intoxicated with very little chance indeed that you will be arrested, charged, convicted, or punished.
The drunk driver that killed my son and my brother and my nephew had a blood level of around 0.19 when he ran in the car and completely demolished it. The witnesses on the scene that were there first say that his only concern was to get the empty beer cans and the cases of beer that he had in the car out. And he didn't seem to be too concerned about any people that were half dead or lay dying on the road. I guess the beer was the only thing he was worried about.
My husband felt the best thing for me to do was to keep it off my mind, because there's nothing we could do. There's nothing I could do, there's nothing he could do to help the case along. He just felt it would be easier on us if we let the district attorney take it over and justice somehow be served in the end.
The driver was indicted for criminally negligent homicide. The DA was Robert Hurlbut.
That kind of a case in general, no matter what the facts of it are, no matter what the evidence is, no matter how skinny or how strong your proof is, creates some general difficulties that you have in getting a jury of 12 people to convict. You are involved, after all, with an accidental set of conduct. You're not involved with an intentional act, somebody walking into a liquor store and holding it up at gunpoint, or somebody breaking into somebody's house, or somebody assaulting somebody on purpose with the intent to kill him or to hurt him. You're involved with accidental conduct, and you have to try to make that into a homicide conviction. Defense counsel, which I in my legal career spent more time being than being a prosecutor, has a strong argument to the jury that you're being asked to put this man in jail or to convict him of a serious crime when really, there but for the grace of God could go you.
The driver pleaded guilty to the lesser crime of second-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 1 year in prison by Judge Patrick Sullivan.
To give a sentence, the most harsh allowed in the law, in this case it would have been a sentence to a state correctional facility for a maximum of 4 years. This area, that means Attica for 4 years, or a sentence to Attica. Seemed to me I was playing with destroying another life, the possibility of destroying another life.
As far as punishment, I think if they would have brought him up to the hospital to see what he did and what our son looked like, I think that would have been enough punishment if he would have walked in his room and just looked at him.
We went down to the scene of the accident. When I got there, there was broken glass, and I started running, looking for my husband and the kids, and there was, I could smell booze all over the place, and a sheriff grabbed me, and next thing I know, they put me in a car and they took me to Fulton Hospital. I came in to the medical center up there, and they told me that my son Michael died 20 minutes earlier of a brain hemorrhage. And then about 20 minutes later, they told me that my husband died on the operating table. They said his heart had stopped.
Drinking and driving are socially acceptable. I'm afraid that in some times and places they're socially prevalent. And I don't think that we're going to change people's attitudes in their social lives. I think that the answer is an ultimate scare, and that ultimate scare has got to be loss of the right to drive.
After 3 deaths, we sat in the courtroom and listened to a debate on whether he should get his license and keep his license until his trial comes up. We just wanted to scream.
My husband and son were hit and killed instantly by a drunken driver going at least 80 miles an hour. This happened 5 months ago, and this man is still driving. I am deeply outraged that he could still be on the road. I feel that I'm a citizen, that I have rights, and that they're not being protected. And I consider the roads unsafe for my remaining son, and for my friends, and for myself, and for my community. The man who killed my husband and son had been arrested twice before on drunken driving charges.
Is that right?
I think that perhaps it's a fault in myself, in my previous thinking about this problem, that this is the case, and it's a fault in our society that this problem is just not important. So that even though I'm sure that the district attorney personally and our local sheriff and police officers are very sorry that this happened, Nobody wants a fatality of this kind, and the community is shocked. Yet the effort to pick up this man's license, to call on him and demand his license, doesn't seem to occur to anybody.
I came home and I told my husband that I don't give a damn whether they give him back his license or not, because my family's dead, and the next time this man kills, it will be theirs.
Legally, driving is a privilege, not a right. Motor vehicle bureaus have the authority to revoke a drunk driver's license without a court proceeding. This is standard practice in some countries. It is rarely done here. Even when licenses are revoked, the problem of enforcement remains. But arresting illegal and drinking drivers is usually a low priority assignment for our police. Sweden, like America, has a problem with drunk drivers. Swedes like to drink, and they have almost as many cars per capita as we do. But they consider drunk driving a serious issue, and they have attacked it aggressively in a variety of ways. One of the ways is that their laws are strict. As in other Scandinavian countries, the legal blood alcohol limit for driving is just 0.05%, half the limit in America.
Så skulle deras namn skriva på kontraktet. Hon har också åkt dit och hjälpt till. When you give a party like this, you're not at all responsible for how much the guests are drinking, because that's up to them. But of course, you don't push drinks on them, and if they say no, you don't at all try to make them drink more. You really respect the fact that they don't want to drink more. But it's interesting in the beginning of a party, especially when couples come, because you realize very soon who's going to drive home. Wives look at their husbands, and their husbands look at their wives, and check that the person who's supposed to drive doesn't drink too much.
I'm an American. I've been living here about 6 years. And of course, in America, I mean, ever since I started driving, we never even thought about how much we were drinking. We drove no matter how much we drank. When I came here, I found a totally different attitude. People were definitely reluctant to drink if they're going to drive because there's a good chance they could get caught. And the percentage of people who drink before they drive is very much lower here because of that. Last summer, we went back to the States for a visit. We went to a wedding where, of course, you drink a lot. And all the other guests have maybe 4 or 5 drinks, and they don't think anything of going out and driving back to their homes or whatever. But, of course, I thought, if I was in Sweden, I wouldn't dare drive now. So it makes you more conscious of the fact that you're not completely under control. But I don't think that's enough. I think the law has to be there so that you're actually afraid to go out because you might get caught.
Not every aspect of the Swedish program can be exported, but education, better enforcement, and swiftly revoking drunk drivers' licenses, and planning ahead to get home safely from parties and bars, can be put into practice anywhere. The ultimate task is to change people's attitudes and behavior.
A few weeks after my husband and son were killed on the road by a drunken driver, a group of my friends and neighbors here got together to talk about the problem of drunken driving. They decided to form a citizen action group called PARKIT.
And so, as a result of the deaths of 2 people, a community group was founded in Ithaca, New York.
And there are a couple of their members who are willing to meet with us and who would like to...
Starting with 20 members, PARKIT set out to attack drunk driving where it matters most to them, in their own hometown. One of their first projects was to sort through county arrest records and court dockets. They found that of all the people arrested for drunk driving in the previous year, half had been allowed to plead guilty to a lesser charge. In one court, only 7% of accused drunk drivers were convicted.
Are we trying to embarrass the justice of the peace, or is this what we're trying to do? We're not trying to embarrass anybody. We're just trying to find out what...
I think the key people we want on our side of the justice of the peace.
And one of the main functions was that I don't think that even some people who are concerned about the issue really realize its dimensions, how many people are involved, how frequently.
What the record is, what is the problem, what is the dimensions of the problem, that's one thing. But if we want to list names in the paper, that's an entirely different ballgame, and I'm opposed to that.
I think this is public record, and that we should use all the possible means, or potential means, have available all the potential necessary to bring about a change.
The people in PARKIT, I'd like to sit down with a few of you.
The county magistrates had a mixed reaction to PARKIT's plans.
Any organization, the PARKIT people in drunken driving, can come in and take names. I get worried about what they're going to do with those names. So I'm going to be the first one to question my own motives. I don't think I look very good when those statistics comes out. I think I did the best I can. I don't think any of us look very good. I don't think...
I'd like to interject. I'm very disturbed at the notion that we as magistrates would determine, before giving out information, how it was to be used. This is public information, and it should be made public at reasonable times to anyone who asks.
I agree with Judge Dean. I know that legally they have a right to go in and get names and everything they want. But to come in and just go across the whole bunch of dockets and say, oh, it says nothing about the case, nothing about the individual, nothing about the arrest. I can't see where it's relevant as long as we're all together now and going into the future.
We're not interested in denying people their civil rights. We want them to have those rights, but we want to make drunk driving a has-been situation, at least here. We know it's a state problem, we know it's a national problem. We're not interested in temperance organization. We are interested solely in seeing that drunk drivers stay off the road in this county by whatever means legally is necessary to bring this about.
An overriding concern of PARKIT is to reach out to other people in the community. Its members publish newsletters, they meet with police officials and journalists, and they take advantage of free time on radio and TV.
People have been talking for years about stopping drunken driving. What makes you feel that your group will make it work?
I guess all of us feel, just sort of as a matter of faith, if we try, something might happen. If we don't try, for sure nothing will happen.
I think that a lot of the problem is a problem of public attitudes. People would think that a person that took a loaded gun on the common and started to shoot it was a criminal and ought to be locked up in jail. But somehow people think, well, someone's had too much to drink, and he says, well, I'll chance it. That's not a crime. And I think that the only way that we can have an effect is if people start to realize that that is a crime.
We've all learned that there's a much wider acceptance of the drunken driver in our society, in our community, than any of us realized.
Okay, give him 3 minutes in the studio,
we'd like to know more about what's going on in our
Ready,
community.
take 3?
So there's an investigative wing and an educational wing and so forth.
PARKIT is a new organization, but its efforts have already had an impact in Ithaca, New York. Similar groups and different public awareness projects have been formed in other cities. Attitudes can be changed if local concern is mobilized. Some of us will continue to drive when we should not, but the protests and programs of groups like PARKIT can start to reduce drunk driving deaths and injuries if we care enough to make the effort.
We were a loving and close-knit family, and in the most trivial aspects of life, it just laps at me that this has happened. When I go to brush my teeth and there are only 2 toothbrushes, and when I make plans for doing something and there's no one to talk to about it, I feel it all over again that this has happened.
Just lucky I haven't been caught now. I'm sure I'll keep doing it until I get stopped sometime.